Belonging and fitting in are not necessarily the same thing. That's my opinion anyway. Fitting in is something that we humans tend to do by our own effort. And sometimes we even suppress or hide parts of ourselves just so that we can belong, fit in with some larger community or group, right? Belonging tends to be more something that comes from God. It's a gift of God that he gives to us, not by our own efforts, not because we're cool or whatever, but just because he loves us and wants us to be his family and to spend eternity with him, right? So there's kind of a difference there. Now, why am I talking about that? Well, you have this, this moment in the gospel today where Jesus has been preaching the kingdom of God, and he's preaching who he is, right? That he's initiating this kingdom and inviting people into it. And there's this reaction from some people who are like, wait a second now, this Jesus who's forgiving sins and healing and all that, he's just that guy from Nazareth. His dad's a carpenter. He apprenticed as a carpenter. He's just a guy like us, right? So there's that pushback. Now, Jesus, for his part, it's like theoretically, you suppose he could just say, all right, I'm not, you know what, I don't like the resistance I'm getting here. I'm just going to hide that part of myself. I'm not going to tell anybody who I am. And I'm just going to keep the peace so that I can fit in, right? But that is not Jesus' reaction. Despite his moments of real, struggle and of real, you have in the Garden of Gethsemane, moments of agony, moments of identifying with that feeling of abandonment, so on and so forth. Overall, Jesus still has this sense of I know my mission, I know what I'm about, and I know who I belong to, right? It is God who makes me special, loved, and important. It is God to whom I get my belonging from. So I think that's important for all of us because the fact is we all come from a place, right? We're all just people. People knew our names in elementary school and maybe have some stories from us back then, whether we were good kids or bad kids or whatever. We were all just somebody to someone. And then somewhere along the way, we're progressing somewhere in the journey of conversion, that journey of being in step with the Spirit, being converted more and more to be like Christ. And with that, there can be that sort of resistance, wait a second now, you're just, in my case, Stu. I know you. You're not anybody special or whatever. And at that point, I could just, hide myself and say, look, okay, I won't talk about Jesus anymore with my friends. I'll pretend I'm not Catholic or whatever, and then I would fit in, right? But that's no good. That's no good. And so we have to just kind of think for ourselves, and it's kind of take the comfort and the consolation of this, that there will be an extent to which we don't fit into every group, every area in life, because we've committed to this thing called discipleship, right? Because we're interested in constantly converting and not just remaining where we are, being ossified and stuck. We're interested in growing and becoming more like Christ, And so to take the consolation and to learn from Jesus' own attitude and approach, to understand that, I am fed and I'm nourished by the bread of life. I'm strengthened by that bread. It is God who feeds me, not some other worldly thing. And it's God who is feeding me because he loves me, he cares for me, not because I'm cool enough for him to care for me, but because he does, just because he loves me. And so my belonging doesn't come from the approval of these other folks, these other people, whatever they think. My belonging comes from God. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.